I don't know how special I am, but I'm here. I will say that. Before we start, I want to thank everyone who organized this, all of you who came, the food, the vibe, the place, the spirit, the heart, and the love that's here. I'm very thankful and honored to share the space with you tonight. I also want to give a shout out to, there's a conference of invincible women being held as a summit in San Francisco. So I think a lot of women who should, or people who should or could be here are probably there doing the political thing, which we all got to work wherever we need to go. So I just want to give out a shout to that female energy. A little bit more about myself. I was born in Harlem 67 years ago. I'm a grandmother, a proud grandmother and mother. I'm agnostic. I'm a lover of all life, and I'm a bike rider. After retiring from the City of Berkeley Chronic Disease Prevention Program, I went to University of Santa Cruz Agroecology and Sustainable Food Systems Project, also known as CASFIS. And then I got a job in teaching, as she mentioned, garden-based nutrition program for the families, not just the children. Because just think about it, the kids come to school and they learn all these wonderful things about sunflowers and dandelions, and then they go home and the family say, what are you talking about? So I invite and encourage the families to join us in our program, in our teaching. I'm also a ferocious reader, and this is why I have my books here. I always have at least one book with me. I prefer historical fiction for escape from the life. But when I need inspiration and healing and comfort, right now the two books that I'm working with, one is The Lost Words by Robert McFarlane and Jackie Morris, and the other one, the newest one for me, is Fighting for Justice, Biddy Mason Speaks Out. It's by Arissa White and Laura Atkins. The reason why I bring up these books is because some of my favorite authors have helped me to be 67 years old. Octavia Butler is one. Diana Gabaldon wrote the Outlander series, which I'm rereading because I'm into historical fiction and I wish I could go back in time and fix everything. And Philippa Gregory does a lot of books on the English aristocracy. Now, this is curious. I know you say, now, how the heck did I get there? I had an English teacher, Mr. Grover, in the 8th grade, who treated me as just a human being, not a black human being, not a female human being, but a curious, interested human being. And he loved the English aristocracy. He introduced me to Shakespeare, which I also fell in love with. And I've carried that respect and regard all the way through my life. And I'm not ashamed of it. So, words obviously are important to me. And I have a penchant for imagination and dreaming. I'm a Pisces. Did I say that? How many Pisces we got in the house? Ooh, true visionaries. We vision day and night. We dream day and night. We have waking dreams and sleeping dreams. At least I do. So, books and words have saved my life, and I continue to live in a world filled with storytelling. Storytelling is really what books are about for me. Communication is key. Words are paramount to effective, honest, insightful human exchanges and sharing. Books saved my life. And they do today. When Trump comes up and I get all upset, I go get a book. Turn off the television, turn off the computer, and go get a book. And about these books, so The Lost Words refers to how our language has been replaced. The words that we used to use, like acorn or eel or maple or willow, are replaced with megabytes and bits and instant messaging. Oh no, and acronyms, okay? Not even words. Come up with letters and everybody gotta figure out what you're talking about. OMW. What? I'm like, that's not a word, but it's okay. So that's what the lost words are about, the words that we've lost and we replaced them. Biddy Mason is an example of lost history because no one wrote about her. This is an enslaved woman in the 1800s who, as an enslaved person, was forced to walk across this country. You know, when you see those wagon wheels, wagons with all the migrants going across from the east to the west, you never see nobody walking. Well, the slaves walked. They didn't ride in no wagon. So this woman walked across the country. She learned from her grandmother how to heal with herbs. And she taught her granddaughter, and that's Biddy Mason, and Biddy Mason shared that knowledge with her community. And she healed people. When you were whipped, you needed a salve for your back. When you were on your knees picking strawberries all day, you needed something to ease the ache of your back and your knees and your feet. And Biddy Mason was able to use the natural world of plants to help ease the burden of enslavement for her people. Her history has been lost, but it's been brought back. So those words are back, and I'm inviting you, encouraging you to look up this book. It was written for children, but it's for all of us. It's a really great book. So stories. Stories is what books are about for me, and why I'm here tonight. I want to share a story about words. The words that we've been given and inherited perpetuate the unjust system we live in. And we don't challenge these words, not enough of them. Some of them we just given, you're born, somebody teaches you the words, you use them, and you go on. I want to examine some of them, and I'd like to say I'm not trying to get anyone to change their language, I'm only challenging it. I want you to think about it, be more conscious, more mindful of the words you've been given and the words that you use so easily, like air, like water. We just talk. I want us to be more conscious of that. And so, the very first story I want to tell you, I went to Caspis. I was 56 years old, and at that time we were sleeping in tents. They have tent cabins now for anybody who wants to go up there. But if you can imagine, I never even looked on the inside of a tent, more or less lived in one. 6 months on a farm beginning in April in a tent at 56 years old is no joke. Can I just tell you? And not only that, of the 40 people in the class, 25 of them were under 25. It was scary. But the very first thing I learned at Caspis, well, lots of things I learned, but one thing I learned for sure was how to hate Bermuda grass. I did not even know what Bermuda grass was, but I developed a strong hate because that's what I was taught. Bermuda grass was invasive, it was pernicious, it was useless, it took up nutrients, and we had to kill it. We couldn't even put it in the compost, we had to burn that shit, okay? This is a serious plant. And I had a healthy respect for it. And when I noticed it anywhere, other people's yards, anywhere, I'm like digging it out because it's hated. But at Caspis, we had what was called a salon exchange every Wednesday. We would share cultural stories and experiences and about gardening and farming and stuff like that. And I personally shared, just as a little side note, my reading of Wendell Berry's book. I'm 67, did I tell you? So my memory gone away. It's not one of the usual Wendell Berry books. It's about him growing up in a household that employed Africans. Wounded something, anyway. In his book, he refers to Malcolm X. And I met Malcolm X. My grandparents were recruited in 1959. And Wendell Berry referred to Malcolm X's pride in growing snow peas for his family for the first time. His mom gave him a small plot and said, grow what you want, son. And he grew snow peas. And it was a proud memory for him that he carried all of his life. And Wendell Berry referred to this. I was like, this is deep. Wendell Berry read Malcolm X's autobiography. And then we were sharing this thing. But the other thing that came up in that particular salon, there was a woman who had graduated from CASFIS a couple of years before I got there. And she had come back to visit, and she was talking about how she went to India. She had gotten a job to create a sacred garden, a healing garden. How many of you remember the DuPont spill in India? Are anybody old enough to know? Was it Bhopal? So she got a job after graduating from CASFIS in India to build a sacred garden, a healing garden, because they're still dealing with the effects of DuPont's chemicals, toxic chemicals wasting in their air and their land and their water. She was so excited and happy. She gets over there, and the first thing they want her to plant is what? Bermuda grass. The same hate I had developed, she was taught that same hate. She was like, oh my God, I can't grow Bermuda grass. What are you talking about? It's a hated plant. What are y'all doing? They're saying, no, this is a sacred plant, and it's good for the amniotic system. And we use it as a tea, and we use it as a salve to put on our children's chests to counter the effects of this toxic chemicals. And she was like, I can't grow Bermuda grass. I mean, it's just impossible. And they said, well, then take your pink butt home, because we want Bermuda grass. We want it now. And she stayed and she learned all of the, this technology. It's reminding me that it's 9 o'clock. I should be in bed. So anyway, she learned the properties, the healing properties of Bermuda grass. She grew the Bermuda grass. She came back and told us this story. So now here I'm thinking, well, how is this possible? How can this plant here where we are in Santa Cruz be so hated, but a sacred, respected plant in India, in Bhopal? I mean, what's up with that? I didn't think about it too deeply because I had a lot of carrots to thin and compost to dig and stuff like that. So I let that go. But then after I graduated from CASFIS, I got a job teaching high school students how to garden organically. And the very first day, you know me, I'm gonna tell y'all about me right now. I organize people with food. I don't care what I'm talking about. It could be housing, it could be bad air, water, I don't care. I bring food before we even start. We're gonna eat together. We eat together. That gives us a commonality right away. People are like, oh, this is good, or man, that don't taste too good, whatever. We got something common going between us. So my very first class, I make smoothies, fruit smoothies, strawberry smoothies for them. And we have a conversation about profanity. How many of you are teaching young kids, anybody around here? They got filthy mouths. Can I tell you? Everything starts with an F, everything. Or MF. And I'm like, it just hurt, it touches my sensibility that I have to hear some child say, F you, Miss Joy. And I say, you know what, do you really mean that? Because if you want to do that, we need to go in the back. We can't do that right here. Think about what you're saying. So what I did was I developed my first class, call it orientation, and I give them the opportunity and permission to use every curse word they've ever heard or can imagine. But there are two rules. You have to spell it and know the definition. That cut the list down considerably. And then I have them look it up in the dictionary. They all pull their phones out. I'm like, no, there are books over there. They're red and they say dictionary. Get one and look your words up. Slowed us down. We finally got the list out. And I'm gonna have to say to you, it didn't stop them from cursing, but it made them conscious of the words. And you hear somebody say, oh, don't say that, Miss Joy don't like that. Or they'll curse and say, oh, my bad. Which means they're thinking about what they're saying for once. They've been given words, they hear people say it, it seems cool, and I'm just gonna say it. Versus, hey, what does that word really mean? Is that what you really mean to say? Is that what you really want? So it changes their consciousness. And then I started thinking about words again, and I said, okay, well, we're gonna do garden class, you're eating your smoothies, and we're gonna, the biggest thing we're gonna start out, because the garden wasn't unkept, the first thing we're gonna do is weed, okay? You should have seen the looks I got. First of all, it was like, talk to the hand, Miss Joy, I ain't weeding. And then the other ones was like, that's slave work, I ain't doing that. I was devastated, because I thought I was gonna have 15 kids out weeding my garden for me, and I wouldn't have to do that shit. They could do it. It wouldn't work that way. Couldn't get them to do it, and if they did, they were cursing while they were doing it. So I thought about it, and I said, you know what? What is it really that we're doing when we pluck a plant out of the ground? What are we really, really doing? First of all, we've identified it or subjected it to our interpretation by first calling it a weed. Where do we get off deciding something is a weed? It's pernicious, it keeps coming back, it was there before you got there, it's gonna be there when you leave, and you didn't even put it there, it can't be a weed. What's a weed? It's just like people. Like janitors are not as important as brain surgeons. So we'll pluck that janitor out, but we're gonna save that brain surgeon. So we made a decision. So I stopped calling them weeds. They're called upstarts. Unwanted plants that start up. There's no subjection there, I mean no judgment. They're just plants. And the thing is, they're beneficial, we just don't know what they're beneficial for. We haven't taken the time. Dandelion, how many people have ever planted a dandelion? Anybody in here? You planted a dandelion? Oh my God, these are special people right here. Dandelions don't need no help, okay? They got here all on their own. And I couldn't, so once we had upstarts, I said, let's go out and upstart them. No, I changed it to meditation. So what I did, for the next 3 classes, I gave them straight, wonderful strawberry smoothies. They loved it. We talked about things, we talked about cursing, we talked about all kind of plans and all this stuff, 3 weeks straight. Then the fourth week they came in and they said, where's the smoothie? I said, well, you know what? There's a strawberry bed over there that needs meditation. If you don't meditate that bed, we won't have any more smoothies. And they was out there, Jack. They were like, what's meditation, Miss Joy? Well, how do we do it? I had them doing breathing meditation, silent meditation, singing meditation, hoeing meditation, trowel meditation, hand meditations, whatever. But what I did was I gave them 5 minutes to imagine an area 12 by 12 free of upstarts. 5 minutes. 15 kids, 1 bed. 5 minutes each. We had the bed done. So 5 minutes of imagining no upstarts, and then 5 minutes of actually making that happen, the realization of that. It changed my class. I was famous. Because I taught them meditation, and I made great smoothies. And I taught them how to make smoothies too. So that was the first reiteration of my appreciation of this experience this woman had in Bhopal. There are no weeds. There are no weeds. That's something we made up. So now comes this whole revelation for me about how important words are. Oh my God, the magic of words. How can I manipulate these children with words? How can I get them to hold my land for me? They love the word hoe, can I tell you? I used it a lot. I just told them that y'all it ain't the same hoe. It's a different hoe. But I want to throw out some words that I believe perpetuates, promotes injustice, oppression, discrimination, hatred, creates the other. Some of the languages. These are only a few of the words. Believe me, my father was insane. When I was about 8 or 9, he said, Joy, I want you to read every word in the dictionary. And he gave me a dictionary, and I was like an idiot. I did. I mean, it was my dad. He told me what to do. The first word in the dictionary is aardvark. Did y'all know? An anteater. Anyway, I got up to K or so, and then I was done. I was like, I can't do it all, Dad. I stopped at K. But I learned a lot of words, and I learned an appreciation for words. So let's look at some of these words we've been given. We already did weeds. Those are upstarts. Slaves. Can I help you with this? There's no such category of people sitting in Africa called slaves. They are enslaved. Can we take that adjective, that verb? Because I'm not a slave. When they went and got people to come and do labor, the irony of sugar and tobacco killing us right now, but I won't go into that. There was no category of slaves sitting there waiting to be shipped over here. It was farmers and mothers and daughters and doctors and brothers. It was people. And there was an attempt to enslave them. Do you see how that changes it? It's not on me as a slave. It's on whoever as the enslaver. So that's one thing. I don't let nobody use the word slave around me. Land development. Okay. I'm going to pave and asphalt and concrete over the land and put a building on it and say I developed the land. No, you did not. The land is dead. Let's get real. You're developing housing or building or whatever. Let's be honest, you're not developing the land. Not unless you put a rooftop the same size, a garden, you have just killed the land. I hate it when people say land development and they put a building up. Abortion clinics. No such thing. This is the right to lifers who changed it. They were family planning clinics. Now, we plan everything. We plan a trip to Hawaii. We plan our retirement. We plan all kinds of things, but family planning was a place where you could learn about your reproduction system, get help if you had health issues, all kinds of things. And one of the services that some of the clinics provided was abortion. But in order to demonize it by the left, by the right, they changed that to abortion clinics. Language, words, come on. How about old? Don't call me old. I'm not old, I'm aged. I'm an elder. But when you say something is old, it's like, we throwing that away in a minute. I don't like the word old. Another one. I am not a minority. I am the human majority. Never call me a minority. What are you talking about? A minority what? Woman, female, human, majority. There's no such thing as minorities. Just like there is no such thing. How about this one? People of color. Now, people of color implies there are people with no color. I'm looking for those people. Where's the colorless person? Show me a colorless person. No. I changed that one to people of the global majority. If we're going to make a distinction, the global majority, we're all some shade of brown. But then there's dark brown, dark brown, cocoa. What are some of the words? Chocolate, caramel, tan. There's the melanin challenge among us. So words are important, and I reject being called a person of color. The other one is sugar versus sweetener. So, okay, let me just help you with this. Sugar is a thing where you take sweetener from something and powder it and put preservatives and bleach it and put it in a box and put sugar on it. That's sugar. What's in an apple, what's in a raisin, what's in a grape, what's in an orange, those are sweeteners. There's a distinction. We need to make a distinction. I keep seeing this. There's a distinction. I rejected sugar in 1978. I don't do sugar, but I do sweeteners. There is no such thing as a black, red, white, or yellow person. We are all some shade of brown. That's the truth. That is the truth. There's some pink too, but we'll call it brown. So if we we use these things to separate us. What we have in common is our humanness, our need to eat, to breathe, and to drink water. We have that, and to love. We have that in common. If we can work on those things together, and that's why I use food, because food touches everything. I'm believing the holistic approach. You can't have food if you don't have housing. You can't eat food if you don't know how to use it or grow it. And we were all put here on this planet to eat. Even the Bible says that. First it was the Word. We just talked about that. And then there was the garden. Okay? So we got to get back to that. We have gotten away from nature. Shoes, we're not born with shoes. We're meant to walk on the earth with our feet. That's what we're meant to do. But we put shoes in between, besides the asphalt and the cement. Everything to separate us from the natural earth. And Mother Nature will even the playing field. In just a minute. You see her at work right now. Almost done. First and two last things I really want to say. First of all, we use the phrase, we the people. How many of you have ever said that in your life? Raise your hand. We the people. Do you know what includes people you don't like? That be Republicans and right-to-lifers and people who hate you. They're still the people. It's so hard to take that idea into our hearts. When we say we the people, we talk about us. But it's not true. It's all of us. Every one of us. Even the ones we don't like who don't like us. Even the ones who are different from us and don't believe what we believe. They are still the people. And they have to be dealt with. And how do you deal with them? Talk to them. Use the right words from your heart, honestly, openly, deeply, what you feel, what you care. Be mindful and act like that. Hopefully they will follow, but if not, so what? We'll just say, we the people and some of us. Some other of us. There are only two kinds of people on the planet. You ready? Women and their children. There ain't nobody else. It's a hard one for men to take. Believe me, they are trying to find a way to get around that. But they ain't figured it out yet. We, the people, all come from our mothers. Our mothers are our first country. Our mothers give us our first nutrients. Our mothers are the one that bear the pain to bring us into the earth. It doesn't take away from the fathers at all. But let's be real. We're out of balance. There's a male-dominated society we live in. The males got a lot of power. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of shit, sports and stuff. Which I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying. We women have an energy that extends to life and loving everyone. How do I know? Because we give birth to everyone. And not all of us, it's okay. We got a lot of people. If the 7.6 billion people on the planet, all of us grew something, one thing, yeah, the CO2 probably would go away. And we wouldn't have time to drive in our cars because we'd be out on the farm growing something. So petroleum is killing us. I'm writing a story right now, believe it or not, historical fiction, about the first community that discovered oil and started bringing it into the cave for light and heat and shit. How did that happen? Who was the first one to say, oh, look, lightning hit that oil and made fire, so we could take some of it and bring it in the house so we won't be so cold. And next thing you know, we lighten it, putting it in every single thing, our drugs, our clothes, our food, our air. And I'm thinking the petroleum was supposed to stay in the earth. I'm thinking it was the lifeblood of the planet. I'm thinking we got trouble right now because we sucked out trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of gallons of this stuff. We don't even know what the heck it is or how it got there. Or say have some proof. So anyway, I'm done. I just want y'all to be conscious of the words that we use. I only mentioned a few here. I have quite a few more. But But I wanted to highlight what I think are the most important ones in terms of what we're talking about now. What justice looks like in public. Don't ever call me a minority unless you want to fight, because I'm not playing that. And, oh, there's the other one, supremacy. Who said white is supremacy? Oh, well, we got rid of white, so now it's got to be light brown supremacy, I guess. To give someone the status of supremacy, to allow them to call themselves supreme, is on us. There's no such thing. They're not supreme. They're human. Human. They may be wealthy humans, but they're human. So I want us to just think about the words. And the last thing I'm going to say before I go, we have to get rid of competition within our society. It's glorified. You got to be the best. You got to be the biggest. You got to own the most. You got to beat them all, at the expense of someone losing. I'm supreme and I'm great because you're not. We got to get rid of that. And we're working really hard to do that in the urban gardening, farming setting in the Bay Area. Thank you very much. I didn't leave no room for questions. I can't imagine y'all could have any questions. It was such an abstract talk. Yes?
Thank you for going over the words. I love that part. It's very creative and insightful, and it's very helpful to think about how we're talking to each other and where we're putting our power. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, good. I covered it all, right? I got one more hand here. Okay. You sure? All right. Let's see. Right off the top. Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I forgot the last thing I was supposed to say. We all inherited this unjust system we live in. Do you know? Some of us have a more unjust life than others, but all of us inherited the system we have. Our responsibility is, what do we do with it now? We can't go back and change it. I wish to God I could, but we can't. Oh, that's another one. I'm not supposed to use the word God. I just did. My God is son. So whenever I say God, I'm supposed to say son. I just changed that one. So my higher power is the sun. Just imagine, we would not be here without the sun, right? There's no higher power than the sun. And so I just want to say we all inherited this unjust system, and we have a responsibility to change it. Thank you.